Hello there and welcome to Torpid Casts. We are back witnessing that infamous matchup that I personally love and that I hope you do as well. Plum Loco as the Lictor Alpha Tyranids, Xenos Supreme, Xenos of the greatest quantities, and is going to be facing the Aversa Assassin of Aversa Assassin 2456, aka Sgtsmith. One IST coming out at the start along with a strike squad, pretty typical against the Tyranids. I don't really like going double IST when I fight Tyranids. The IST just really aren't that good in this matchup. They kind of fail against Termagants one-on-one. They just don't output enough DPS, really. And Hormagaunts are too quick. Even though it's nice to have multiple units to DPS the Homers from afar, honestly, you're not that bothered about Homers. As long as the Homers aren't blobbed together, two at a time, you can dispatch them easily with your strike squad. So that's the tactic from Plum Loco. He should be blobbing his two Homers together. Had he had two Homers in this situation when the IST and the strikes came in, it would have been a very good fight for him. Now this is a bit dubious here. Yeah, that's quite unfortunate really. Could have done with having the Homers already in melee with the strikes when he pulled one of the models with Flesh Hook. That would have given him a lot more free damage, and Plum Loco's really messing up this initial engagement. He's fighting piecemeal. His units are going one by one into Grey Knights, which is not a very good idea. The special attacks from the Halberds will slaughter the Hormagaunts. They'll do a lot of damage. So what you meant to do, you meant to basically gang up on the strike squad. These guys are really expensive and they're not that fast. You've got the speed advantage of the Tyranids. And you can see here he's going to disengage. He's going to try and farm a bit of free XP here on the Aversa Assassin. There goes a special, but it mostly misses. And really, he should have retreated this strike squad earlier. He got quite lucky there, Sgtsmith, that he procced a special right at the start of that. And it knocked over a lot of these Homers. But even with that fortune, he managed to lose one of his Grey Knight strike squad models. So that's a lot of bleed. More bleed than the Hormagaunts have incurred yet, and really the Aversa Assassin is pushing his luck as well. Oh, he's got this cover here protecting him, so not that many models of Homers can fight him, but the Lictor is outputting a lot of DPS, so that was nice for the Aversa. He got a really nice special attack there. Wow, killed a load of models off those Homers. None off this one, and this is the problem though. You can see the IST DPS just isn't quite enough to be able to dissuade these Homers who are a lot faster, and they're just going to chase you down. And then the other issue is, they get the Warrior Brood out. Now these Homers are even tankier. But these guys are a pain in the ass. They're still faster than your basic units at 5.5 speed. But they're heavy infantry, so they're really resilient to the lasguns of the IST. Now the IST in tier 2 can get the plasma guns, but honestly against Tyranids it's all about surviving the tier 1 pressure. When you get your Justicar with power melee, when you get Purifiers with power melee, you have a lot less to fear from the Tyranid melee blob. Oh, this is rough. Pulls them right in there to the triple Warrior Brood. Warrior Brood not doing a lot of damage, but they do power melee damage. And what's this, a Chemnade? Suppression and a big debuff to lower the melee output of affected entities, but a beautiful special attack there from the Lictor. And the Lictor's got the feeder tendrils, so you really do not want to be fighting him in melee. Purgation kind of isolated. They're trying to shut down the Lictor right now. You can see a good amount of damage output coming from them. They rotate to handle the flanking Homers, but it is a little bit too late for them. Obviously nothing here really to deal with. Just the sheer quantity of melee units on the field here by Plum Loco. Plum Loco going to really emphasize those melee units. He's going to get another squad of Warrior Brood. I have to be honest, I don't really understand the point of the single termers. What niche do they fulfill in these compositions other than making it harder to have two Homers together at any given time? See, the problem is that a strike squad will be able to take on one Homer and one Termer together, and the Homers will counter the IST. Termers aren't particularly good against Purgation, and with only one Termagant, you don't exactly have a good amount of DPS to focus fire the Aversa Assassin either. Had he gone into Warriors and then Raveners, and you then have two ranged units with the Termers and the Ravs, then you have sufficient ability to focus fire and kite the Aversa Assassin. But he's not doing that. Okay, he's gone for the Barb Strangler. Fair enough, Barb Strangler is actually very good against OM who don't go for the Interceptors. And Interceptors, if Sgtsmith wants them right now, it's going to be very difficult for him. It's going to take a very long time due to him repurchasing his Aversa Assassin, whom he has committed quite a lot of war gear to. He's trying to focus down the Lictor Alpha there, but again just flanked by more melee. It's quite a tough matchup this because of the fact that you don't have any reliable detector for the Lictor Alpha. So you've seen how the Lictor Alpha just came in there and absolutely ambushed the Purgation squad, which kind of shut it down quite badly. You have to get operatives to detect, but then if you get operatives you don't have a very good counter to the Barb Strangler Warrior Brood, which does this and shuts down your ranged. And you want your ranged because you don't really want to fight all these nids in melee. Yeah, this is pretty rough. Like I said before, it's all about withstanding the early game in this matchup. And you can see the pressure is on for Aversa Assassin right now. Massive VP and map control dominance here from Plum Loco. Termers finished their capping duties, going to flank down, focusing on the Purgs. They're very low on HP, they need to be careful. I don't know what the IST were doing so far forward. Well, I guess they were doing their bit to try and tie up the Barb Strangler Warrior Brood, but it's not a good fight for them. Yeah, and that's full retreat pretty much for the Tyranids, but a lot of damage done there to the economy of Sgtsmith, down to 1 gen. I mean, if he can hold on somehow, he gets to tier 2, he gets some Psy Cannons up, he gets his Justicar on the Strike Squad, purchases some Purifiers, then he can grab the Neuro Gauntlet, a lot of power melee DPS to rip through these Synapse models. Then he does have a chance, you know, power melee on the EA, you got power melee on the Justicar for the Strike Squad, and then all the Purifiers with their swords do power melee. And then the Psy Cannon doesn't get its damage reduced to like a normal piercing weapon against the warriors, so we'll be pretty good at popping them. Nice single target damage to all unit types. But can he survive? He's honestly running out of VPs incredibly quickly. The other asset you've got, obviously, as OM in tier 2 against Nids is the Razorback. Razorbacks are something that Tyranids really struggle to deal with. They're so fast. The Tyranid AV Venom Broods can't really keep up if you're a good player and micro correctly. Obviously, there's utility here on the Warrior Brood that can potentially get the Thorax Swarm, which you can use for the Electroshock Grub to shut down the Razorback if it gets a little bit too close. But again, you know, these guys are nowhere near as fast as a Razorback, so don't let them get as close to your Razorback, and then it shouldn't be a problem. Quite brave here to go into this fight. Obviously, these Hormagaunts have their damage debuffed. You can tell by the red debuff circles, they're not really doing any damage at all, are they? 50% damage reduction from that Chem Nade. But I tell you who is doing damage, the Lictor Alpha, buffed by Stork right there, trying to save the models of the Strike Squad. I'm surprised there wasn't a Flesh Hook. Looked like that probably would have killed a Strike Squad model, which would have been worth it. But gonna disengage. Good for Sgtsmith that he managed to not lose a Strike Squad model there. Purgation model's not quite as expensive. Poor IST really can't do anything here. Not able to detect the Lictor. The Grey Knights are going to come out again. And he's just going to back off. Venom Brood is an odd choice as a first purchase from Plum Loco. I would have gone for a Tyrant Guard or some Gene Stealers. But honestly, Death Spitter Venom Brood could be pretty good right now. You know, he's got the Termers, he's got the Toxin Sacks, he's trying to control the EA with it. But a bit difficult when you've only got one range squad. They're just going to tie them up in melee, right? Nice use of some Adrenal Gland Warrior Brood here, so these guys are even more tanky now, and really quite a lot tankier as well. This is where you need your power melee weapons to punch through them, but there we go. Yeah, there's no upgrade for these Venom Brood, no Death Spitters, so I don't know, Plum Loco must have got his macro a bit confused. He must think that Sgtsmith is further ahead in tech than he is. He must think that Sgtsmith is due to get a Razorback, but he's clearly not. I mean, we can see that, obviously. The Fog of War is a real thing when you're in-game. These are Termers, not Hormers, so they're not really that threatening to the Strike Squad, and I don't know why they got so close. Yeah, decent fight there. I mean, he did lose a Strike Squad model, but he's getting a bit of XP on these guys, helps them scale. His EA has got a pretty good situation going on right now, but this is a problem. The Hormers and the Warriors splitting up so the Chemnid wouldn't hit both of them. And they're in on the Purgation. Obviously Purgation here. We're trying to stay on the field. They wanted to get a few of these gens down. It's not really a big deal. The tier 2 power expenditure of Tyranids, not very high. Tier 3 is. Suppose it would have been a play for Plum Loco to just get these guys, get the Death Spitter, and then maybe go tier 3, and then he can call in another Venom Brood using his global bar whilst he's taking tier 3, and as long as he retains his power, the Carnifex train should be on the way quite quickly. Now Sgtsmith sees the Venom Brood, and they haven't got Death Spitters, they've still got Venom Cannons, so these are a pure AV unit. They can get their ranged synapse, but they're probably not going to do that given the fact that there's only one Termagant squad to buff. It's probably not worth it. Those Termers are going to be sidecapping most of the time anyway, not with the Venom Brood. So, what do you do with Sgtsmith? You don't buy a vehicle. The enemy's already got an AV unit, why'd you buy a vehicle? That's stupid. Instead, he buys his Purifiers, which is a great choice. 3 elite melee units models here, all of which do power melee. Nice strong special attacks, especially on the Justicar here, who has that heavy melee hammer. A nice 360 degree special attack right there. Now, we do see the ability used there by the Purifiers, which will silence nearby enemies to prevent them from using abilities, but the Lictor had actually already used his ability, the Toxic Cysts. But you've seen a nice special attack there, though, from the Lictor. It wasn't even a special attack, because the Lictor's level 2, so he's got 71 melee skill versus the 70 of the level 1 Purifiers, therefore the level 1 Purifiers cannot special attack the Lictor. So, how did he manage to knock over the Lictor there? Well, the Thunder Hammer itself on the Justicar has a 15% chance with every strike to knock over the enemy, and that's what happened. Punished that Lictor quite hard. Now, the Tyrant Guard will fare quite well against the Purifiers in a one-on-one fight, but generally the problem with the Tyrant Guard is, of course, you can't retreat. So if ever it finds itself outnumbered, the Purifiers will very quickly tear through its HP, and even if it goes into shield wall, the vehicle armor won't necessarily save it, thanks to the heavy melee on the Purifier's Thunder Hammer. And that's part of why the Purifiers are so good in this matchup. They're kind of good against literally everything that can be fielded. Even if you go for the typical ranged counters in Raveners, they're only piercing, right? So still the heavy infantry of the Purifiers resists it. If you get Gene Stealers and you have just this much melee, you can overwhelm the Purifiers just with sheer numbers, but that's why you want to send the EA nearby to support with things like Chem Cloud grenades. But this is a good play by Plum. He's seen that no Razorback is here, instead it's Purifiers. That is an infantry threat and a heavy infantry one at that, so he picks up some Death Spitters on his Venom Brood instead. So now he's actually doing a nice amount of Inferno damage at ranged, which will not do reduced damage to heavy infantry, so that's going to be quite effective. Now, he is in here with Bio Meltdown, I assume? Yeah. We got some Bio Meltdown action going on there, stacked with the Chemnid. A lot of bleed on both sides, really. How many Purifiers were lost? Yikes. All 3 Purifier models, but fortunately for Sgtsmith, not the Justicar. Quite lucky, really. 7510 to replace them. Wow, that's so expensive. Holy shit. And Plum Loco's now got a second Tyrant Guard out. I mean, if we look at the map, it's been extremely dominant for Plum. Oh, quite lucky there, though. Well, not lucky, really. Just poor play from Plum. He forgot about his Lictor Alpha, so the Strike Squad managed to take it out up top. So that's a win. You know, one less enemy to deal with. Let's see what the Death Spitters can do. I think they got quite lucky and missed their shots there. Yeah, you can see they're pretty good there against the heavy infantry. This is level 2 Strike Squad now with the Tomes of Titan upgrade to give them more HP. Of course, when they get the Justicar in the squad, that then buffs the HP of all the Grey Knights as well. So these are quite a tanky little squad right now. Obviously, you want some melee around to zone for your Death Spitters. That's the point of these guys. One of the Hormers should probably get on the Purgs. Warriors should probably knock over the Strike Squad to disrupt it. Otherwise, the special attacks could be quite dangerous on the Hormers. Here we go, big Chem Cloud Grenade, going to debuff those Hormers. Wow, takes out the Justicar straight away. They're just going after the Warrior Brood, but the Strike Squad aren't really going to do too much. Is this another Bio Meltdown? It is, isn't it? Yeah, this is another Bio Meltdown. Hormigaunt HP falling rapidly right now, and there's a Synaptic Backlash as well. You can see the Purifiers managed to take out the Lictor once again, even though he was repurchased. But now, of course, they're too low. Can't deal with the Tyrant Guard. Wow, Bio Meltdown there, managing to claim the life of one of the homers. So here we go, we're seeing units falling for Plum Loco. He's got many units, but he's actually struggling to micro them all at this point. Versa Assassin has picked up a Terminator Librarian. I think it's time to get the Psy Cannon on your Purgation. You can then protect it with melee using the Sanctuary Bubble of your Terminator Librarian. The Terminator Librarian as well can buff the melee damage resistance and melee skill of nearby Ordo Malleus via his Might of the Titan upgrade. Very good for making Purifiers and Strike Squad spam specials against the Tyranid melee. Yeah, these single entities are going to be quite awkward right now. Both of them do power melee. Terminator Librarian, not known for the DPS, but it's not insignificant. And there's Might of the Titan. You can tell because of the purple circles underneath the OM nearby, buffing them up. And these Tyrant Guards, yeah, they're in a bit of trouble. Oh, he charged them incorrectly there. He should have charged this one first so it got out of the way. This Tyrant Guard got blocked by his buddy and it doesn't have a charge right now, and he's getting torn to pieces by all this power melee. Might have the energy to go into Shield Wall. I don't remember how much energy it costs to go into Shield Wall, but even if he does, there is heavy melee on his ass and he is going to struggle. Lictor Alpha though, flesh hooking in the Aversa Assassin combined with the Tyrant Guard is going to kill that EA. So we're trading units here, because that Tyrant Guard did fall. But honestly, looking pretty decent for Aversa Assassin when you start to normalise the amount of units that you've got on each side. When you're the Grey Knight and they're the Tyranids. It's got to be a good thing for you as the Grey Knights. You're not meant to have as many units as a Tyranid player. But Plum Loco is going to go tier 3. The advantage of Plum, of course, is he's got 427 VPs to the rather meagre looking 100 for Aversa Assassin. He's got a bit of a tech lead as well. I mean, Sgtsmith here managed to replace his gens, so he's doing pretty well on the power department. He's actually bleeding quite a lot of models, which are costing him requisition. He's going to have to be careful here. Death Spitters there. Look at the Death Spitters, man. Tearing through the Purgation squad there. This guy was very close to dying. A couple more seconds and he was probably dead. Yeah, it's a nice pickup really against the OM, I think, the Death Spitters. I like them. Just being able to put some pressure on from afar gives you a lot of tactical versatility that you otherwise might not have. Ah, he's queued up Menacing Visage. Oh, that's smart. He'll be able to use that to force the Purifiers into retreat pretty much instantly in any major engagement, which is huge because these guys are by far the scariest contributor in the army of Sgtsmith at the moment. So he's got tier 3, he's going to get this ability soon. You can see it's very expensive though, 150-50, but yeah, to negate an enemy squad in an army versus army fight's huge. Oh, Plum Loco totally forgetting about his warriors down the bottom. Gonna lose them as well. Too busy looking at his Lictor. His micro's failing here in the late game, isn't it? But only 32 VPs left for Sgtsmith. Plum Loco at this point probably just wants to save up for a Carnifex. Let's have a look at his income. Yeah, pretty damn good. Lictor again being an absolute pain in the ass, hunting down the Purgation. Doesn't have a lot of energy though, does he? How much energy does it cost for Menacing Visage? Wow, totally out of position as well. Use the Purged by... yeah. Use the Purged by Fire to control the Lictor, prevent him from being able to use the Menacing Visage against the Purifiers, and Purifiers, as Sgtsmith is pointing out, using their ability to prevent the Tyrant Guard from using its ability. Isn't that cool? So it was unable to charge away or go into Shield Wall. Alright, here comes the Carnifex. Nope. He's going to wait till the Swarm Lord. I mean, he's got the time with the VPs, I guess. Rhino finally coming out for Sgtsmith. Pretty hilarious that his opponent is nearly at the point of getting a Swarm Lord and he's only getting a Rhino. Quite far behind in tech, but the thing is, he's killed so many of the Tyranid units now that map control is going to be tricky for Tyranids. Level 2 Gaunts really not going to do anything against level 4 Strike Squad, level 3 Purifiers. Gonna be a pain. Even the Terminator Librarian easily able to 1v1 Gaunts, so yeah, this is tough. Not getting the Psy Cannon earlier on the Purgation might actually prove helpful now for Sgtsmith, because he will be able to get the conversion beamer if he needs it to deal with the Swarm Lord, which he will. Swarm Lord, obviously, incredibly powerful super unit for the Tyranids. Not only is it vehicle armor, it can heal itself a pretty outrageous amount with one of its abilities, though it does have a long cooldown, but it makes it just even more durable than it already is. 2000 HP of vehicle armor on a pretty fast moving unit is scary, and all Tyranids nearby can reinforce off of it and get a speed boost, which combined with a load of melee is pretty fearsome. But that's why, again, it's really useful for Sgtsmith that he's already killed most of the melee. And then he grabs a Lictor Alpha and retreat as well with the Purifiers. Brutal. Plum Loco lost his Lictor Alpha way too many times in this game so far. Way too many times. It's really cost him a nice amount of damage there on the Purifiers. He's going to suppress his own Purifiers. Just dodge the Chem Nade. But there you go, there's the Swarm Lord. He's trying to cap the power. Yeah, he's not going to get it. He's got to back out of there. Lictor Alpha repurchased. Wonder what the next purchase for Plum's going to be. Oh, he's going to need another Venom Brood, because look, there's a Grey Knight Dreadnought, and it's just picked up its Dreadnought Claw. And it also has that glaive, the Force Glaive, on the other arm. Very, very powerful walker here. It is the most powerful tier 2 walker. It will actually fare pretty damn well against the Swarm Lord in 1v1, but obviously it doesn't quite have the durability of the Swarm Lord, especially with the heal that the Swarm Lord has. But check it out, we've got some Melter Bombs here on the EA. He's tanking quite well right now. Must have Psychon active. He's got Hyper Metabolism on as well. Remember, Psychon does give him damage resistance. But yeah, he needs to be careful. He's near the Lictor here, who has the Flesh Hook, so he needs to retreat quite early. I think he's gone now, yeah. Purifiers are trying to hunt the Lictor Alpha once again. Oh, that's a poor use of the Leech Essence ability there. There's not many models around. It heals based on the amount of models nearby, so you can see the healing effect there was pretty shit. And I guess that's one of the advantages of being OM against the Swarm Lord. You don't really have that many models, even in a big army versus army fight. Tyranid formation. Wow, the Purifiers walked right into that. That was pretty terrible. What was he looking at? Moving units to cap points, probably. Oh, he did actually destroy that building. That's probably helpful for the Tyranids. No more hiding in there. But the Lictor, nice play by him, manages to get the decap up top and then get out of there. Swarm Lord hunting down the Terminator Librarian. He needs to be quite careful. Casts a Sanctuary and runs away. Another Melter Bomb goes in, but there's no AV. Where is... Okay, level 4 Purgation. They've still got an Incinerator for some reason. What is going on? They really need to pick up a Conversion Beamer and help the Dreadnought pin this Swarm Lord down. You can see the Swarm Lord not wanting to take the fight with the Dreadnought right now. 1,500 vehicle armor on the Dreadnought. I'm not sure what the Swarm Lord does in melee in terms of DPS. Must be similar to the Dreadnought. You'd be surprised the actual DPS of these super units in tier 3 is not that high. You can see it's just a lot quicker than the Dreadnought. And obviously it's got these amazing support abilities. Swing and a miss there with the Emperor's Fist. We do see the Conversion Beamer now in play. Lictor Alpha's going to stalk after them. There you go, goes into melee, but I'm a bit concerned now about the Lictor Alpha dying in retreat to the Dreadnought. Gonna discharge his Toxic Cysts for a bit of a heal. Yeah, Purgs need to be careful. Oh, wow. One more hit on both of these guys and they would have died. Another Melter Bomb just slowly chipping away at this Swarm Lord. Looks like we're getting a Rhino now for a Versa Assassin as well, and you know what that means. It's going to get a Las Cannon, which will be pretty good against the Swarm Lord since it's stuck in melee. Now this would be a better instance for the Leech Essence, but I don't think he's used it, and oh my god, look at this, Might of the Titan on the Terminator Librarian, and they are just abusing this Swarm Lord in melee right now. Totally isolated. Yeah. Bring it on, Swarm Lord. Swarm Lord is ultimately a support super unit, so it's really not very good play of it to just run it around solo like this. Yeah. And there's the Blade Flurry, but that AoE damage ability, again, more powerful against, you know, units with more models and less HP than Grey Knights. So the Grey Knights are going to do it. Wow, they only had 5 VPs. I didn't realise how close that was. Holy shit. Wow. Level 4 Purgation, though. Wow. Yeah, so Plum was just trying to close out the game there with the VP situation, but he's just lost everything. Yeah. Mental. He went in for an all-in play there, and it distracted me, didn't it? Distracted me staring at the fucking Swarm Lord. And he nearly got those final VPs off Sgtsmith, but he just made the comeback. Like I say, if you can survive the onslaught in tier 1 as the Ordo Malleus, you do very well in tier 2 because your units just get so damn powerful with their leaders as they level. Purifiers are great in the matchup. And it's very much the case that a tier 2 Grey Knight can take on a tier 3 Tyranid. But surviving to tier 2 can be very difficult, and running out of VPs early on, likewise, is often a concern as the Ordo Malleus. So there you go, folks. Hope you enjoyed that one. A little bit of Tyranid versus Ordo Malleus. It's always a crazy one with units dying in melee left, right and centre. That is going to be all from me, boy Torpid this time. I am signing out.